at this conference, we're surrounded by people who are challenging themselves to grow, and people who are committed to creating extraordinary conscious companies, and people who are committed to changing the world. And I'm so honored today, sitting with Eileen, to be with someone who is doing all three, even when it's hard. And so I wish we had much longer than we do so that we could talk about all three of those things, but we'll touch on a few. But first, really going to the company piece, Eileen leads a practice at Eileen Fisher of starting conversations with a moment of silence. And I've asked her if we could do that today as well.
Okay. Yes, we started this 10 years ago at the company, and actually it was one of our business leaders that brought it in, which is probably why it stuck. Anyway, just take a deep breath, put your feet on the ground. I'm working also a lot on feeling and heart and sort of dropping into my body. I love the way that's come up many times here, this whole embodiment piece, and I think Christine and Sarah started yesterday in that place, so I think it's a great place to start. So in the moment of silence, just get in touch with your own feelings.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Usually we give more time than that, but we only have 20 minutes left. So.
Right, we're watching our clock here. Right, thank you. So I wonder if you could start. You've had a tremendous last couple of years in terms of your own personal journey, and I wonder if we can start there with you telling us some of the highlights for you in the last couple of years.
Okay, I'll try. I guess I'll just back up for a minute and just say that I come from a family of 7 children, and it was always that kind of sort of bundle of people hanging out together, and although that was really wonderful, and for me it made collaboration and the idea of belonging a really important idea for me, it also, the shadow side was that I could never step out and say something different or speak out or be heard. So actually it's pretty terrifying to be out here today just because that's something that was actually forbidden in my family. So to tell you, okay, so that's just this framework.
So thank you for being here.
Where I started.
In that.
But meantime, the company was rolling along and we were doing a lot of wonderful things and busily, not just business as usual because we thought we were an unusual business already, but a couple of years ago, Otto Scharmer invited me to go on the Gross National Happiness project that he was involved in. And at first I thought, happiness, that's fantastic, that's what we need because people are stressed out here. And also a trip to Rio and Bhutan, well, doesn't get better than that. They're both on my bucket list, so might as well do that. That'd be fun. So on the trip, I started to understand more about bigger things in the world that I wasn't fully paying attention to, like things like we're using 1.5 planets of resources every year. And actually came to really realize that we too, as a clothing business, are a part of the problem. And as much as we've been doing our own work and sustainability and that kind of thing, we still are a part of the problem. The fashion business is the 2nd largest polluter in the world, second only to oil. And most people don't actually know that. So in some ways, we are a part of the problem. So I came back from that trip, and on that trip, I also met Marcelo, who's in the audience here in Brazil. And Marcelo was very much about personal transformation. The way to happiness is really getting free of our obstacles, coming fully into ourselves and getting in touch with our purpose. And he also works in companies and helps companies to get in touch with their larger purpose and helps individuals find their purpose within the corporate environment. So I thought, oh, that sounds really wonderful. So I invited Marcelo to come to New York to do a prototype workshop. And during that workshop, I had this experience where he had us sit in different chairs and embody our purpose. And so you talk to yourself as your purpose. Whoa, I realized my purpose wasn't so totally happy with me. And my purpose wanted me to step up more and speak out more and, do more. And and then I realized as I was sitting in now I call my purpose chair, that I was wiggling my toes, and I was realizing that my purpose was something about really being fully in myself, fully embodied. I'm a very sort of conceptual head person. I like pictures. I like clothes that go together. I like puzzles and games. I like to think about how the money works and how the business works and things. But actually dropping into, how I'm feeling and, experiencing that and, is actually really hard for me. So what I realized is that sitting in this purpose chair, that I could embody what it was that mattered to me. And so over the next period of time, I noticed that I had two back-to-back conferences, and then I had a third conference to go to. And I was tired, and the third conference was the sustainability group in my own company meeting at an offsite. And so I had committed that I would come for a couple of hours. But I sat in my purpose chair, and it was just like I could feel energetically that I was supposed to really be at that conference. So I went upstairs and packed my bag for 4 days and stayed the whole time. And while I was there, everybody was working and doing amazing things and coming up with these incredible ideas of the things that we were going to do. Like, we were going to make all of our products sustainable by the year 2020. We were going to totally be carbon neutral. We were going to stop reduce our air shipments radically and try to figure out, how to manage that. We were looking at the idea of local factories and that kind of thing. So there was so much energy in the room and so much passion. And I remember realizing, because thinking about my family situation, and I'm always on the side, and I like to kind of encourage people from the side. And I remember at one point standing up and saying, yes, yes to this commitment. We can commit to 2020 being 100% sustainable. And I remember this like, oh my God, it was like my voice. I could feel my own voice, and that my voice mattered, and that I could just say yes. And here I was in this company, my name on the door. You would think that I would know my voice mattered, but I had to anyway. So
it's powerful.
So anyway, that's what I. So where do I go from here? Let me think.
Well,
Sorry, I lost my.
It's what a couple of years, first of
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
My goodness,
yeah.
The ground that you've traveled. One of the things that's interesting when you talked about your purpose chair is you have your big purpose,
Right.
And then every day you're checking in with your purpose then and there in a very embodied way.
Right.
And that's very, very
and
interesting.
And what's cool about that is actually, it's exactly that. It's that sitting there, after I do my regular meditation and my yoga in the morning, I go and sit and I drink my coffee, my Starbucks, and sit in my purpose chair. But it is exactly that. It's like, what matters today? What things do I need to do now? What's the next little step? And so things like that, like appearing at that conference and realizing I have a voice, all those things start to come out of just embodying my purpose every day. And now I want that for everyone.
Yeah.
So, can I keep going with that, or should we go somewhere else?
Well, I'm desperate to ask you about nice and kind.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
All right, that's good.
Okay.
That's
So there's
good segue because it's all related.
It's all related.
Yeah.
One of the things that you've been quoted as saying that I just love is, no one lasts very long at Eileen Fisher if they're not kind.
Right.
And I saw that and my face kind of lit up. I thought, that's great. And then I thought, oh, okay, how does that actually work
really
in
mean?
Right.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about
Right.
how you bring that aspiration into kind of the daily running of a company.
Yeah. Well, I think it started, I don't mean to say it was just superficial about just being nice, and just meeting people with a smile and a kind word. But I suppose, if I think about my family, we were always nice to each other. Were we really kind? That was a different question. But I came to really want it to mean to be truthful, to be, to tell the truth with kindness. And so over the years, we developed different practices. We have a workshop called Giving and Receiving Feedback. It also makes me think of this whole idea, and what we've been working a lot on is bringing the personal to work. That actually how we feel, and what's really inside of us is really, really important to bring into the workplace. Because if we don't, we're just operating here in this space, and we're not going deep enough. And if we don't go deep enough, then we can't really, we're not getting to the deep enough possibilities about what business can be. Like, we could be just dealing with what the numbers are or creating wonderful clothes, but if we're starting to really get to what we feel, and we're starting to deal with that with each other, then we start to notice what we feel when we see the sewers in the factories. How are they really being treated? How do we, and we could say we have been monitoring factories longer than anyone else probably, but when we really start to dig deeper and ask the deeper questions, we start to move things aside and we find out, oh, we think we're paying a fair wage. We pay $25 for a scarf, but as we dig in, we find the worker herself gets 50 cents. That's not good enough, So what do we do about that? And we have 1,200 people at the company. And so that if everyone is starting to have that possibility to drop in and know what they feel and learn about their purpose, and also know what holds them back, which is a different conversation, but related. Because when we start dealing with feelings in the workplace, and I don't mean touchy-feely in a way that's too
Therapeutic, maybe?
Yeah,
Psychological.
although I love therapy.
I know.
It's the best. Yeah, I've been doing therapy for 30 years, I tell you. I would never have started my business without it. So, where I'm going, therapy, it's so good. And what else is really cool is, what I really love now is this somatic type therapy. Any of you guys do that? Oh, it's so great. It's so great because it's related. It's like getting in touch with what I feel. It's like knowing, that, I feel angry about what that person just said, or I felt a little bullied, or I felt dismissed. And then being able to go and tell that person, in that situation, I felt a little bit bullied. Oh, and that person goes, oh my goodness, I didn't mean that. And right there, you can clear it up, rather than walk away getting more angry, spinning out about the situation. And you can come back and kind of resolve it, repair it in the moment.
But what's interesting is that's
I'm sorry,
I'm like, that's what kindness.
You're the best. We had so much fun at dinner last night.
We did have so much fun.
We're going to do it. I'm thinking about collaboration and how we're. Anyway. Go
yes. So what's interesting, and then we'll come to collaboration. Oh my gosh, the clock.
Yeah, okay. Good.
Is that
nice and kind? Did I finish that? Go ahead. No, sorry.
Kindness as I listen to
We
you,
could talk for a whole day. Let's do a
good.
workshop, you and me.
Okay,
Fun.
let's do it. Collaboration. You're seeing the commitment right here. Kindness requires authenticity, as I hear you. And authenticity, to really know yourself, requires that hard looking at yourself. And the conversation you described of, I'm feeling bullied, and the person, instead of saying defensively,
Right. Oh, they might do that too.
well, they might start there, but they might work their way to realizing that actually that wasn't their intention.
Right.
That's what kindness looks like. And it's that lack of authenticity that falls into sort of what you started with, which was more of the niceness.
It looks kind, but it looks
it isn't
nice.
really
but
kind. And so if you're not really working on looking in the mirror and being honest and asking the hard questions, then that's what's not going to last at the company. That's a very interesting and an important way I hear you defining kindness that helped me understand, it's not that you're saying you have to all be nice to each other. It's that you're saying you have to really show up.
Right.
And you have to do the work on yourself to show up. And that's very, very interesting.
Right. And and like Mother Teresa says, tell the truth with kindness. But you still have to tell the truth. And you have to know the truth, which is really hard, and sometimes I don't like to dig into what actually is the truth, but I know that it works, and I know that if I don't do it, I just waste a lot of energy. And that's the other thing I see, why it's so important to do this kind of deeper personal work, because energy gets really wasted. People spin out, people get mad at this one, they take sides, they get divisive, they subgroup, whatever they do, but it's not good for collaboration, and it's not good for the business. So there's actually a business case for this. But what I'm really
business
passionate
case
about,
for a purpose chair,
yes, business case for purpose, and business case for deep personal growth and development work. And so one of the things I'm on about this is that even in my own company, there's, of course, resistance to this idea of deep personal work in the workplace. How do you do that? And can we do that? And people are going to get freaked out, and are we really going to get any work done? And, people are going to be uncomfortable. And so
how are you dealing with those really important questions?
So what we've done is decided to separate it out, and we're creating this learning lab. And so at the learning lab, we're going to offer people 3 days a week. Not a week, 3 days a week. That'd be great. We'll spend 3 days a week.
I'm going to work for you.
Work stuff. Actually, we'd probably be more productive in the 2 days that we would work if we would spend 3 days doing this. But I mean 3 days a year. So we're offering people 3 days a year to do deeper personal work that will be done off-site. And so we've been testing some prototype workshops, and so far getting some really nice responses to this kind of thing. We haven't gone like, well, we've done it.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's wonderful. I know we wanted to make sure we touched on collaboration, because that's so important both to you personally and to how you're leading and how you see people working well together. So talk a little bit about where your passion for collaboration comes from and how you're seeing it make a difference at work.
Yeah, well, I think the passion probably comes from my childhood, but how I'm seeing it at work, but also how I think the whole idea of collaboration is so important, like both collaborating in the workplace, but actually for us, we want to collaborate with the fashion industry. We're not interested in just being, ahead of the game doing sustainability and having it be our edge. We want to share whatever we're doing with the fashion industry. We want to share whatever we're doing on personal growth and development. And we want you to share your mindfulness work with us.
Absolutely.
So
we have a committed collaboration
partnership
already
with Google, but we need the businesses to work together. We need us to work better together internally inside companies. So we need to work on how we do that. And we actually are going to do a little breakout session and give a demo if anyone's interested in some of our practices and how we do pass the talking stick, or listening to everyone, and working in circles, and how we collaborate, and some of our practices around checking in, and you'll get a little taste if you want to come.
One of the things that makes collaboration challenging, or can make it challenging to bring in, is the idea that to do something collaboratively can take more time. and
Yeah.
you have the
Oh,
competing
that's
demand
great.
of
Yeah.
just getting stuff done. So how do you balance those?
Yeah. Well, it's true. Let's say the good part about collaboration is that the more people we bring along, we bring into a meeting. You might say, oh my God, there's 12 people or 30 people. Do we really need all those people in the room? And what ends up happening if you do that is that they're engaged, they're on board, they're part of the thinking. They feel that they've been heard, and then they're much easier to go out and just work starts happening naturally when you do that. It's a little cumbersome, and over the years, because we've been doing so much of this for so long, we've developed some interesting practices. Probably some of you have heard of World Cafe, that kind of work, or some kinds of different kinds of circle work. And so we do a lot of these kinds of meetings where we'll have a group, we might have a group of as many as 70 or 80 people, and more typically 20 or 30, but we'll break out into small groups so that everyone is heard. And we can do this with garments. What are the most important garments we're going to sell this season, or which ads do we believe in? Or actually, I had a great story about working on advertising at one point, and we had a room of 30 people, and usually what happens is you have the creators of the ads and the designers and the salespeople and the business people, and they come into the room together, and sometimes whoever has the loudest voice wins, and that's where we go, you know. Or the creative people are like so confused at the end of the meeting they don't know what to do. So who to please? Do I please the head of sales, or do I please Eileen, or do I please myself? Or so anyway, this process helps to get everyone's voice in the room separately in these small groups, and then somebody's usually like, they'll be attached to a particular point of view, and because they've been heard in their little group, when they find that, oh, no one else likes the picture that they thought was the best one, or everyone seems to be on this one. Like one season, we did this photo, this image, and it was this woman in a beautiful skirt, moving something. And I remember that I went through the whole deck the night before, because one of the things I do is select pictures, or part of it anyway. That's one piece I do. Anyway, in the meeting, it came out that a totally different picture that I had missed. That there was so much energy around this picture, and I was like, "This is amazing. If we hadn't done this, I would have totally missed it." It became one of our hero shots for the season, year, long period. So anyway, that's just a concrete example in the world of fashion.
So it's worth the investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, well, yeah, exactly. And what I think it makes for more empowered people, and but there's ways to do it, is what I'm trying to say, that aren't so cumbersome. And in fact, we can do very efficient meetings now. Well, I better qualify that. We can do more efficient meetings, but we can get to better answers. You know, we have more thinking and more complexity in the room, and that's really good.
And we can hear the specifics at 3:45.
Yeah.
In our last few seconds, I know you've talked about speaking truth with kindness. What other words of wisdom or advice would you like to give our friends here today as we wrap up?
Well, I guess it starts with us. I think this is a converted room, so I don't probably have to say that. But I think it is about being present, trying to be present every day. And I say, do the deep personal work. It's fun, and it's powerful, and it's enlivening, and it's freeing. And I was saying earlier, I'm not today, but I say often, I'm 64 and I have more energy than when I was 24. And I know it's because I'm shedding a lot of things that have encumbered me and been in my way for why I can't get out there and speak and do what I want to do. So I say, try to do some of the deep personal work. And I mean, I don't think I have to speak to this crowd and say that, but I find something every day, sit in your purpose chair or practice, whatever it is for you, because it matters. We matter, and our voices matter.
It's wonderful.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Let's collaborate.
Thank you. Yes.